questions. What happened with the burnout situation? First of all, so the burnout really happened with the ad tech company. It was called Chango, and I was a co-founder. And it's nice to have sort of a sexy headline on your resume, right? About $100 million plus. When you build technology like that, particularly 8-9 years ago, nobody's getting a check for 100.
So what would you advise, like strictly, someone who is trying to start a small business? What would you advise him to do? Like the steps to follow to be able to avoid all this?
You can't avoid most of it. It's, I mean, there's a reality, right? You can't avoid most of it. Here's what I would say. People make business too complicated. Business is not that complicated if you really think about it. You could go borrow a neighbor's lawnmower and you could go mow somebody's lawn, right? You charge them for that. You now have a business.
Hey there, business athlete. Welcome to BizScale with Tanya. I'm Tanya, your go-to gal for all things business growth and scalability. Whether you are diving into the online business world, kickstarting your tech startups, or hustling with your small and medium-sized enterprise, this podcast is your one-stop shop for no-nonsense discussions and practical tips to level up your game. We are cutting through the noise to bring you the insight you need, from demystifying challenges to outlining actionable strategies. We've got your back. Join me and some industry rock stars as we share stories, drop wisdom bombs, and map out your route to success in today's fast-paced business landscape. So buckle up, folks. BizScale with Tanya is here to help you crush your goals and scale your biz like a pro. Let's dive in and get down to business. You're feeling the squeeze when it comes to making your business really click in the market? Are those profits not quite hitting the mark no matter how hard you hustle? Well, perk up those ears because we've got something special just for you. It's time to turn the tide on those financial woes and set your sight on some serious growth. So let's cut to the chase. How do you know if your business is crying out for a helping hand? Here are 3 dead giveaways. Your bank account's looking a little sad lately. You are banging your head against the wall trying to break it into new markets. Clients are slipping through your fingers faster than you can say customer retention. Does that sound familiar? Then, if it does, it's time to shake things up. Our business audit is like a GPS for your profitability, guiding you to smoother waters and bigger paydays. This is for you if you are tired of watching your hard-earned cash vanish into thin air, if you are ready to dial in your business for profit without sacrificing quality, and if you are serious about building a business that stands the test of time. Here's the lowdown. We'll take a deep dive into your expense, sniff out the fat, and cook up a plan to trim it down while beefing up your cash flow. But hey, let's keep it real. This isn't some overnight success and miracle story here. It's about rolling up your sleeves and making those smart moves that pay off big time down the road. So if you are ready to kick those financial blues to the curb, hit us up. Head over to tiny.cc Business Growth Clinic and book your audit today.
Everyone, this is Tefa. This event is hosted by Wiz Digital, and we're here with Mr. Dax Hamman. He's an entrepreneur, a successful one at that. I hope I'm doing justice to his name. He has raised a multi-million-dollar company, co-founded several companies, and he's here to share with us how to grow businesses using AI. I know AI is taking over the world right now, and it's so competitive in the market, but it's a venture that he has gone into with experience, and he'll be here talking to us about how to grow small businesses and give you opportunities that you may not even know about in the market. So thank you once more, Mr. Dax, for coming. So I'm going to start straight up by asking, can you provide us with an overview of what AI technology is?
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for having me, and you got the name right. It's funny, on spell check on emails and texts, I'll often get called DAD, D-A-D. Which is always amusing to see, but you got it right. So yeah, AI tech today, I would say, is at peak hype. Everyone's heard of it. Everyone's excited by it. Everyone thinks they should be doing something with it, but it is not at peak capability, right? Today, we can do some really fun things with AI. And for businesses, I'm going to run you through some of the things we do ourselves so that you can try and do some of those same things. There's a lot of people that are worried about AI is going to take a lot of jobs, or that AI is going to make a lot of companies go out of business. I would say the AI that exists today is not the science fiction AI. This isn't the stuff in the movies where you can just talk to something, it understands your life, your thoughts, your feelings, and does everything for you. That is not the AI today. Really, the AI today is not really even AI. It's just kind of clever, what we call machine learning. But if you know how to use it, you can get a lot from it. And so it's not AI that's going to take your jobs, and it's not AI that's going to kill your company. It is the people who learn AI. They're going to take the jobs from the people who don't learn AI.
Because was coming to taking our jobs and all that. But you just made a very important point there. That is those who learn these AIs that are going to come in to take.
That's right. This is like the birth of the internet. Right?
And secondly, I'm going to ask, what inspired create such a?
Ask me that one again. Your signal's a little on and off.
Okay, I was like, you made a very important point there while you were talking, and you know.
Tanya, you're on mute.
Let me jump in here. Meanwhile, Tia is having some difficulties with his signal. So, very great point. I think this argument around AI and AI taking jobs, I think it's been all over. There's a lot of fear mongering happening around the world around that. And the fact that you are helping businesses with incorporating that AI, and you say it's clever machine learning. Can you maybe share a little bit more about why do you feel that it is important? Because something that you had mentioned was that you feel that it is important for creators and small businesses to incorporate it. And that really, I found it very interesting because I'm a creator as well as a small business owner. And I was like, we incorporated, but I was like, when you say that we're not really incorporating it properly, I was intrigued. So I'm really intrigued to learn about that.
Sure, happy to. So there's a couple of reasons why we have to do it. One is big business is doing it, and you don't want big business to be getting further and further ahead of you, right? So back to the birth of the internet, those companies that started to put up the first web pages, those big businesses that could afford to build big complex websites back in the day, they won for years. They won. They had the advantage because they had access to all of the employees. I know you're in Nigeria, Tefra, and you know Nigeria did the same thing with cell phone banking, right? You did an incredible job in Nigeria around a lot of online banking, so far ahead of other countries, right?
Yeah.
First mover advantage always has an advantage, right? This is technology that will help a business be more efficient, will have a better outcome, will help you do things you otherwise couldn't do. Now, when the internet started, it was really hard and really expensive to do anything on the internet, right? Those first few years. AI is not like that. The tools you can use for AI, most of them are free. And if they're not free, they're very close to free. And so small businesses, content creators have a couple of choices in front of them. One is they ignore it and they do nothing. And for a little while, things will be about the same. The second choice is they can go learn how to use AI, the basics of it. Don't need to know anything particularly complicated. It's not particularly technical technology. And they can start to use it in their day-to-day life, and they can start to use it in some of the output of their business or their creation. And then the third option is there are now the options to build entire AI-backed companies where actually your products are different, your services are different. And one of those things is a choice everybody has to make right now. And I think by choosing number 2 or number 3 right now, you have an advantage of getting ahead of everybody else. And I would say Tanya is in particularly interesting spot as a creator, because a lot of creators are saying either AI is just going to kill off my job, or they're going to say it can't do what a human can do, right? And both of those are sort of true. What I will tell you, though, is as a demo yesterday, I was sitting in a restaurant in Denver, Colorado, and it has a QR code on the table, right? Throwback from COVID, where you have to scan the menu with your phone. So I scanned the menu and I gave it to AI on my phone. And I said, just based on what you can learn from this menu, create me 30 days worth of social media posts. 30 days of social media posts. Our food hadn't even arrived. And I had the posts, the content calendar, and the images and the hashtag research all done on my phone from scanning a menu. And that was free.
Wow. So it's really amazing, because that was what you just said now was leading me to my next question. I was going to ask, what is it, considering the limited access and access to resources for small businesses? That was where I was going to ask. So what do they get to gain? Like, what solution does this AI address for them, considering the limited resources that they have?
So if you have access to a smartphone of some type, or if you have access to laptop, computer, you can use Google's AI and you can use OpenAI's AI, and you can do them both for free. Right? Wow. There are versions with OpenAI, ChatGPT, we've all heard of. There is a free version and there is a paid version, which is $20 a month. I don't know what they charge in South Africa or Nigeria, actually. But in the US, it's $20 a month. And it's a little bit better, and you can do a few more things with the paid version, right? But you can start with the free one and get a lot out of it. And to get it, you go to chat.openai.com, chat.openai.com. Google have Google Labs, where they've been experimenting with their AI, and theirs is called Bard, B-A-R-D. And so to get there, it's Bard, BARD.google.com. And you can do all sorts of things. That example I just gave you of social media, that was on the free version of Bard on Google. And any of you in anywhere near any sort of town, city, can take your phone and can go use that capability and go offer to create a whole bunch of social media posts, menus, articles, newspaper articles with your phone for free in minutes.
Fascinating. It's also fascinating. So considering what your own company do for small businesses, right? So what processes are automated, and potentially does it save time and resources for them?
Yes. So I would say at the moment, certainly in the United States and in England and a lot of Europe, what I'm seeing as the trend is initially business owners got rid of a couple of members of staff because they're like, oh, I don't need all these marketing people anymore, right? And then they realized they made a mistake. They realized the mistake they made was, first of all, AI is not amazing. It's great. It's not amazing. It's not fully replacing people yet. But the other thing they realized is if I actually had kept that same person, I'd get 10 times the output. So as a small business owner, is it better for me to have 10 times as much content every month, 10 times as much social media, 10 times as much efficiency at writing articles? And the answer is yes, it's always better to have 10 times that. And so actually, I think the trend at the moment is not a downtrend in people losing their jobs. Actually, it's in people becoming more efficient in their jobs. And there are even ads for jobs here where it's for things like prompt engineers. And a prompt engineer is just somebody who's learned how to use AI. And honestly, the Google classes that are free are pretty good at teaching you how to do prompt engineering.
Wow, this is great insight for small business owners because it's cost effective and it saves time. Obviously, that's my take from that. So it's really fascinating too.
And you can really incorporate it into your day-to-day life. I did something the other day. So I happen to use an iPhone, and on my iPhone, I went to bard.google.com on my browser, and I went into a bookshop, and I took a picture of all of the books on the shelf about psychology. And all the AI could see in the photo was the spines of the books.
The books.
And I said to AI, catalog all these psychology books for me. Tell me which 2 books I should read that would help my thinking about how AI works, and then tell me which order to read them in and why.
Wow.
And it did that for free immediately.
Wow. It's really fascinating to hear that. So allow me to delve a little bit about your personal life. It's from the record, it seems you got married really early, at an early age, and you had kids too really early. So what inspired that?
I don't know. So I guess certainly I grew up in the north of England, and so certainly considered early for the north of England. I got married at 21. I'm sure for other parts of the world that's not
way
that early. I look back and think that's early, particularly because I was still a student in university. I actually met a South African girl who had got a job as a nanny in England and ended up in this small town in the north of England. And I don't know. I was always, I think I was born an old man. I was always a bit more mature in my years.
And so you're a young man with an old soul.
Yeah, maybe. And Lindsay and I thought, hell, why not? So we actually got married up in the mountains in South Africa. And we had twins at 25 and then our third at 28. For those of you that are down in South Africa, I know some of your audience is like Tanya. I used to run Irish pubs in Benoni outside of Johannesburg, which was a whole fascinating experience. I think I've always just been pretty driven to get on with it. I'm always in a hurry. I'm always trying to do more. And I think in my 20s and when I started making companies in my 30s, that was very hard. And I experienced a lot of burnout, and it was terrible for mental and physical health. And I had to learn, actually, that speed, that way of thinking, it can be fun, but also it can be very harmful. And I plan on living a very long age. And so I really had to get into a different mindset that was better for me than that decision making.
Awesome. It's great. It's inspiring hearing you.
I have to jump in because I had a couple of questions around the businesses when I announced this. People that are not on Facebook were like, "Girl, I need you to ask him this. I need you to ask him this." So if I don't do this, I might lose followers.
Okay, go for it.
So one of the things that were fascinating for a number of people was that you built a group of businesses, and this is one of the reasons we wanted to have you on the podcast is because this is something what you've done is something that we keep advocating for entrepreneurs, especially in the online space, to think about how they build their businesses to avoid burnout. Because just like you said, when you're building your businesses, you experience burnout, and a lot of people usually just shelve the business and throw the baby with the bathwater. And I've seen businesses that have grown to 7 figures and they just burn down the business. So what advice would you give to people that are in those position of building a business? Is probably at the growth stage. But what we have seen as we work with a lot of these businesses is that they do not have a lot of the core foundations in place. So what would be your advice as somebody, because if you're listening to this or watching this This is somebody that has built an ad tech to over $100 million and has built 4 more AI, which we're still gonna dive into, to over $1 million in less than a year. So I know that we got some juice here that we're going to get out of this conversation.
Good. They're really good questions. What happened with the burnout situation? First of all, so the burnout really happened with the ad tech company. It was called Chango, and I was a co-founder. And it's nice to have sort of a sexy headline on your resume, right? About $100 million plus. When you build technology like that, particularly 8-9 years ago, nobody's getting a check for $100 million, right? You have investors and board members and things, and you'd be very, very surprised in most cases, and including ours, how that sort of, huge sounding number goes down to, something significantly smaller, to a shocking degree. But nevertheless, very, very lucky to have been in that position. The burnout came because they often make you work for a year after you get acquired. And the company that bought us, I worked for them for a year. And a year and a day, I got the phone call that said, "You're fired, you're done, goodbye." And I shouldn't have been surprised. The job I took, it wasn't really suiting me. The environment wasn't really suiting me. I don't think I was doing a particularly great job, and the CEO was right to make that decision. I wasn't the right fit. But it still surprised me because I'd done no work on my mental health. And actually, what I learned after that experience, and had a great therapist for a while. I mean, I love cognitive behavioral therapy. If you've never heard of that, look it up. It's great for performance and results in life. What I learned from CBT was, generally in life, we have 3 core pillars to our personality. Some of us have more, but generally we have 3 core pillars. You have sort of a pillar of self. You have a pillar of being a father, in my case, of 4 teenagers, so wish me well. And then my 3rd pillar became the business. A whole third of my personality, who I was, why I was that business. So if you imagine it's a 3-legged stool, and all of a sudden, outside of your control, someone comes along and you're sitting on that stool and someone just kicks one of those legs away, it's going to collapse. And so what I never allow myself to do ever since is allow the business to become such a core part of me. I work damn hard on it with FOMO.ai over the last 6 months. I've had the 50, 60 hour weeks. So I'm not saying don't work hard on it, but I'm certainly saying try and keep it in perspective of this business is probably a moment in your life. Your health, yourself, your personality, your family, your children, your friends, hopefully they're forever. And they are far more important. And if you do that, if anything bad goes wrong, you can cope with it better. And stuff goes wrong in businesses all the time. If stuff's not going wrong in your business, if it's not on fire half the time, then you're probably not pushing hard enough anyway. So when it goes wrong, you need to be in a good mindset so that you can calmly think and fix it. So I would definitely advise keep it in perspective. I also think, though, there is this tendency, I think particularly coming out of the States, of what people refer to as LinkedIn porn, right? And what they mean by that is people are always on their posting saying, I just did 90-hour weeks, 10 90-hour weeks in a row. If you're not doing 90 hours a week, you're failing. What nonsense. Utter nonsense that is, right? We have capacity as human beings. And it's very hard to go past.
We will be back shortly with your episode. Right now, let's hear a quick word from today's episode sponsor.
Are you looking for a simple way to start making sales? Then you'll want to check out our coaching program, Easy Sales Blueprint. Finally, an easy way to sell your program or service. Discover the simple steps to creating a lucrative coaching or consulting business. The Easy Sales Blueprint gives you a step-by-step method to easily make more sales without spending all day on social media, cold outreach, and hitting the door to try a good old-fashioned door-to-door sales system. Apply today by heading to tiny.cc/getmoresales to find out how we can help you achieve online sales success.
That capacity. We can do it.
Are you tired of living paycheck to paycheck? Do you dream of financial freedom? Are you tired of the rat race and would like more time with your loved one and friends, making memories that will last you a lifetime? You may want to download Building a 20 Million Portfolio, How I Created Financial Freedom by Aurelian Amaka, a successful entrepreneur, founder of System IU, and author. So why not give it a try? Download Aurelian's book now and start building your own path to financial freedom by heading to tiny.cc/freedombee. Entrepreneurship can be a lonely road to travel despite choosing a path that allows you to build wealth and make a real impact. It often feels like you are on this journey all by yourself. The desire to work from anywhere is fantastic, but you also yearn for a community of like-minded. You crave the chance to exchange ideas, learn from others facing similar challenges, collaborate and forge new connections in the business world. Your friends and family may love and support you, but they don't really understand what you're going through. They are content with their 9-to-5 jobs, leaving you with no one to talk to about your entrepreneurial dreams. If only there were a community of fellow entrepreneurs, a place where you could find advice and support from those who truly get it. Imagine this, an oasis for entrepreneurs where you can quench your thirst for connection and fuel your ambition to succeed. Business Grid Insider is the community you've been waiting for. It's designed exclusively for entrepreneurs, founders, consultants, and freelancers like yourself. Here you can find a tribe of like-minded individuals ready to uplift, inspire, and help you overcome the challenges that come with building your empire. Expand your business network and explore new partnerships and collaboration opportunities. Enjoy exclusive resources, webinars, and workshops designed to enhance your entrepreneurial skills. Join Business Grid Insider today and unlock a world of support, knowledge, and opportunities to propel your entrepreneurial success to new heights. Head to tiny.cc/businessgridinsider.
Sometimes, right? I just did some 50, 60-hour weeks, like I was saying, but I don't recommend it. And I certainly don't suggest you do it for a long period of time. It's not sustainable, because not only will you start making less good decisions, you will also start to break away those other legs of the stool we talked about. If you're doing 60 hours a week every week, you're probably not really helping those relationships with friends and family and with yourself. So I would also say, don't believe it. I actually think most of the people that post that stuff on LinkedIn aren't even telling the truth anyway.
Yeah, it's fascinating you say that. No, you didn't just give advice on the business, but you also give an advice of cognitive health in general and how to balance business and life all together, which is fascinating.
I mean, look at your recent rugby game, right? Sadly, against my home country of England. It's a rough one. You know, take any of those players, right? The business is what they go out and do on the field. They are really good at their business of going out on the field and sadly beating England. But good luck on Saturday. You deserve a win over the All Blacks. All that other stuff I'm talking about, the life, the mental health, that's everything they do off the field before they step on the field. And not one of those players would have been able to beat England if they hadn't relentlessly worked on all those other things, right? It's all the training. And sometimes saying, you know what? I've got my own business, therefore I've got a little bit of flexibility. It's Wednesday afternoon. It's a nice day. The kids are off school, whatever. What I'm going to do for myself and therefore indirectly benefit the business is I'm going to go take a few hours and I'm going to take the kids to the park and we're going to sit and we're going to do nothing related to the business. That is exactly the same as one of those players going to the coach and trainer and saying, hey guys, I've been working really damn hard ready to beat England. I'm knackered. I need a day to myself, right? I'm going to go sit in an ice bath. I'm going to go sleep, whatever. Those coaches and trainers are going to say, good job. You understand yourself. You understand what you need. Go do it. You'll be a better player when you get on the field. It's exactly the same for owning a business.
Amazing. That's awesome. That's great. So going back to the business side of it all, I know a lot of our listeners are wondering how you did this, building a multi-million-dollar company, several, And is there a blueprint or a roadmap that you could just throw out there to someone listening to follow to achieve this? And considering the time you did this within 6 months, how did you come about this? How did you achieve this milestone?
They're good questions. A few years ago, there was a campaign in Hollywood that may still exist, but I haven't looked it up for a while. And it's called "If She Can See It, She Can Be It." And what that meant is that if you put women in movies who just do regular, traditional male type roles, little girls growing up will see that and they will feel like that's something they can do too, right? So if you look back through Hollywood, there are very few cases in American films in particular where if there's a character that's a lawyer, not a main character, just a character who's a lawyer, it's always a man, right? So where are the examples of just a character that's a lawyer being a woman, right? To inspire the little girls. And I think "If She Can See It, She Can Be It" is a great, great campaign. And I raise it because I had some of that luck. My parents had started a business. And if you can see people who you know and you trust do something, it gives you mental permission, whether you realize it or not, that you might be able to do the same thing. If you've grown up where nobody around you has ever done the thing you're going to do, it's scarier to do it, right? I always love the example of if you're walking through the forest and you get to a raging river and you've never crossed that river before with your parents or anybody else, you're going to be pretty rightfully scared to cross that river because the risk of the waterfall downstream is terrifying.
Absolutely.
But if you've been crossing that river your entire life with your parents showing you how to do it, it's a lot less scary. So first of all, I got very lucky. I was exposed to that. And I would say you can all find your exposure. It doesn't even have to be somebody you know, but it helps if it's somebody that looks like you, thinks like you, behaves like you, has some of the same life struggles as you. So you can then follow their journey and get that permission that you can do it. Secondly, to your point is most ideas are nonsense. The number of times I have people that call me and say, "Hey, Dax, I've got the next idea for my business." It's great. It's the best thing ever. It's $1 billion company. Or I have people who say, "I was going to start Tesla. I was going to start SpaceX." Really? Were you? Were you? You were going to be the one that started Tesla and SpaceX and Twitter and Facebook and OpenAI and okay, great. Well, you must be feeling like you really missed out on that.
Yeah.
Most ideas are nonsense, and in most cases, good businesses are an exact copy of another business, right? There's a great phrase of boring companies, right? So many boring companies are the ones that make the money, right? So if I think about back in England, dry cleaners, pay-as-you-go laundrettes, right? Things like that. People who own them might think they're kind of boring. I'm not creating anything new and sexy, but hell, they make a lot of money, right? Nobody had an original idea when they came up with opening a coin laundrette, right? Yet in the United States, opening a dry cleaners is the single largest percentage way to go from zero to being a millionaire over the last 40 years. A dry cleaners. That's wild. So I would say don't get hung up on your idea. Create a business that makes money from day one. Just have a good business. My stuff was a little different in that, with FOMO.ai, you've got to think, what skills do you have? What unfair advantages do you have, right? And sometimes when you're starting in business, you don't have many unfair advantages. You might have the, cojones to do it. You might have the belief in yourself you can do it, and you might have a few other things around you that help you do it, but you don't have a lot of the experience as part of one of your unfair advantages. And so I'm 45. And I know 4 teenagers makes me go a lot grayer than 45, but there we go. My unfair advantage when I started FOMO was I've done this several times before. My other unfair advantage is I love science and tech, and I read about it, and so I knew about AI. And my other unfair advantage is my last company was called Fireside, and that is where I tried to make marketing affordable for small business owners. And so therefore, I knew about the marketing and the tech. I knew how to build businesses specifically for small business owners and what they needed. And I'd done it before. They were my unfair advantages. So I'm very lucky in that the idea of FOMO.ai, it is a bit different. It's not a boring business, right? It is something that it's capitalizing on a very specific moment in history. And therefore, that is what has led to it growing quickly. Most of us will never have a business like that again. Most of us should be building boring businesses that make money over and over and over again, right? That is the goal. My wife, she has a business that does podcast production, and actually some of our editors are down in Johannesburg. The business is based here in Denver, Colorado, but some of our podcast editors are in Johannesburg. And she learned a great expression the other day, which is busy and broke. And there are so many business owners that are busy and broke, right? They are grinding away too many hours. They're not looking after the 3 legs of that stool. And yet they're still broke. And that is because they're not building a good business, right? There's lots of business owners. There's a lot less people who are good business owners or good people building good businesses.
Okay, so on this note, so what would you advise, like strictly, someone who is trying to start a small business? What would you advise him to do? Like the steps to follow to be able to avoid all this?
You can't avoid most of it. It's, I mean, there's a reality, right? You can't avoid most of it. Here's what I would say. People make business too complicated. Business is not that complicated if you really think about it. You could go borrow a neighbor's lawnmower and you could go mow somebody's lawn, right? You charge them for that. You now have a business. You didn't have to go legally incorporate anything. You didn't need a domain name. You didn't need any
leverage,
right? You just went and mowed a lawn, or you cleaned some gutters, or you know, whatever it is you did, and you don't really even know how to do it well, right? I mean, we can all have a go at mowing a lawn if we've never mowed a lawn before. I mean, try not to mow your toes off, but you know, we can all have a go at mowing a lawn, right?
Absolutely.
That's a business, right? And then you mow a few lawns and you realize, actually, I don't know, if I think about, I lived in Pretoria for a while. So for those of you who are local there, like, you know, there's lots of different parts of every city. I know that area where people go shopping, Santon, right? I know their lawns are about the same size as the lawns in the southern part of Pretoria. Yet I bet those people in Santon are willing to pay me 5 times as much as the people in the south part of Pretoria, right? Because they have more money there, right? Now you're making business owner decisions. Okay, I'm going to not try and get more lawn mowing gigs where I started. Now I'm going to go up to Santon and I'm going to try and get the lawn mowing gigs up there, right? So now you're a smart business owner because now you're optimizing your time. That's it. You now have a business. What else do these people need? Ask them, right? Bring them outside and say, I think I did a really great job on your lawn. Really appreciate you letting me do that. What else can I help you with? What else would you like me to come back next week to solve as a problem for you? They might say, I don't know, I want some flowers planting. I need weeding doing. I want my garage painting, right? I've got a whole bunch of family photos I need to hang on the wall inside, and I don't know how to do it, right? Ask them. And then whatever they ask you to do, as long as you can kind of do it, and you can charge the right amount for it, do it. And then ask them to tell their friends and family that you did it. Can I take a picture on my phone so I can show other people the work I did? Great. Go knock on their neighbor's door. In the neighborhood, you can. Go knock on the neighbor's door and be like, hey, for this guy, I just did this. Can I do this for you? Great. You are now a business owner that is making more money than most business owners.
Wow. So permit me to term this, I would call it business 101. So it's more or less like the simplest tips. You made it sound very easy.
I say, we just got a master class in starting a
Yeah.
business. And the irony of it, it seems that we keep repeating for clients and people in the community and content we keep talking about optimizing, but so we don't get away from everything that we are meant to talk about. What is FOMO AI? What is it doing for people? Because we had a chance to look at it, and I know that you have a side where you're working with enterprises and a side where you're working with small business owners. Like, if you could share also with people in the community and the listeners, like how FOMO AI helps them in their
Yep.
business.
Let me start with the name because FOMO, I don't know if it translates all around the world. FOMO is fear of missing out, right? That's what the abbreviation of FOMO means, fear of missing out. And the name itself is a lesson in know why people are buying what you're selling. And what people's fundamental feeling about AI right now is that they're missing out. There are business owners listening to this right now where they're like, I haven't even figured out AI is going to mess up my own business. I certainly don't have time to figure out how to use it to make me more efficient, to do better marketing, etc. So FOMO AI is designed to give business owners an unfair advantage. So here's what it does. There is one part of it for big enterprise clients where we go in and we say, let's have a look at some stuff. Let's figure out some stuff. Let's get some AI doing some things, right? And we're doing some really interesting things right now, like with a big chain of car dealerships in Utah and California and places like that, where we're giving them some AI that's going to make them a lot more efficient and help them sell cars. To me, though, the other side of the business, which you should all look at, is called Copilot, and it's copilot.fomo.ai. And Copilot is what I call guided DIY, right? Do it yourself DIY. And what I mean by guided DIY is there's a lot every single one of you can do in AI right now. You just need somebody to hold your hand as you do it. So there's 3 parts to copilot.fomo.ai. The first one is our accelerator course. So, 3, 4, 5, 6 hours total, stuff like this. This is exactly how to do it. The second part of it then is every month we take a topic. So I'm doing a webinar tomorrow that's free on how to create 30 days of social media content in 30 minutes or less. So every month we take a topic or a project like that and we give it to our members. But in addition, we build these little things called AI bots. And these bots, you sort of copy and paste them into your business. You got to do a little bit of setup, but we show you how. And then it does that work for you. So actually, Copilot is there for business owners and people who work in marketing, etc. So that you, first of all, with Accelerator, you know everything you need to know. Then every month, we're giving you more and more capability that you can put in your own business or you can take to the company that employs you. And you can look like an absolute superstar. And then the third part is we are the ones who are watching this entire industry and telling you the stuff you need to know, because there is so much of it. I see like an alert list of new companies in AI getting started. Just last week alone, I found 112 new companies in AI. Nonsense. Like, what? That's ridiculous, right? So you as a business owner, you don't have time to know what those are and whether you should care about any of them. So that's my job. My team will figure out if you need to care about any of those things at all. And then actually we'll turn that into something really, 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 really simple and say, okay, this month, there's this new thing you can do. Here you go. We do recommend you do that and ignore the rest. And I'll give you a great example. Before I started taking clients into FOMO, I was playing around and I made the world's first AI-powered, fully automated podcast. So what does that mean? The AI, once a week, would go off and do its own research on the topic of AI, and it would write a script, and then that script would go into a voice generator, and then that voice generator would get published as a podcast, and then that would get shared to social media. And 90% of that was on autopilot. So some of the things we do, like we will release that as a pack to members at some point over the next few months, where you can be like, do you want an entire podcast that you never have to speak on? Okay, great. Here you go.
That's really fascinating. It's really fascinating.
If anybody does want to attend that webinar on social media, on my, I think the way my name's showing on the screen, dax@fomo.ai is actually also my email address. If you drop me an email, that webinar is free, and I'll happily send you the registration link. And even if you can't make it tomorrow, because it is 2:30 Mountain Time, which is 9:30, 10:30 South African time, PM, then if you're registered, it'll send you the recording for free as well afterwards. But I think that is an example of something you can copy right away. 30 days of social media content in 30 minutes, you can do that right now.
Awesome.
I'm actually mind blown at the podcast. I'm like, I am mind blown at I was like, what?
Yeah, I don't know if you could see my face, the expression on my face as well. Like,
so if you go into your podcast, if you go into your podcast app and you look up, that's what the podcast look like.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So FOMO.ai Copilot. It's just about 10 episodes as like a demonstration. And the first episode, it's not great. The 10th episode, it's a lot better. And I left it like that because I wanted people to understand in that April, May, June time this year of how things were getting better, right? And you will notice, like, if all you do is listen to the very last episode, at the very end of it, I even got the AI to sound sad. So the voice at the very end, I think the last one's a female voice, and I think it says, if you liked this podcast, please like and subscribe. AI has feelings too. And just sounds really, really sad at the end, like a real little guilt trip.
Yeah.
It's worth listening to.
We have a comment here saying that's sorcery. I want it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's like, wow. Like, you know, we hear about AI, but like seeing that implemented at this level, it just shows the possibility, especially for solopreneurs who make up at least 70% of the audience in this community are primarily coaches, solopreneurs, and one of the biggest problems that they have is time to do everything because they are being told, create content, do this, do that, and at the end of the day, it just feels like overwhelming. So such solutions is definitely something that they should definitely attend. I'm just thinking it's okay. It's 10 p.m. tomorrow, right? You said
2 p.m.
webinar?
Mountain, but it will be recorded and then the video will get emailed out afterwards.
So guys, like I'm just gonna share that because I'm probably gonna throw that out there on the newsletter because this episode is only going on the podcast app next week. And I'll throw that in the email because I'm sure some people will definitely love to hear about that because I had a startup founder speak to me about starting a podcast and he was like, they feel overwhelming. I think that could be an idea.
Yeah.
A question I have though is, what are the challenges that you have had to face building this business?
I mean, it's endless, right? Building a business generally is not easy, which is why I love the idea of these boring businesses, right? Because there's a lot less drama. You know the problems. You can talk to people who've done it before that exact same thing, and they will tell you exactly what to do. So actually coming and doing something brand new like FOMO is kind of nuts, right? I mean, what a ridiculous thing to do. It's stressful. It's been expensive. You know, it's all sorts of things, right? Go to a boring business that you already know makes money. Challenges. So in this case, I wanted to find the best people in the world I could work with. If you find really great people to work with, people who you think are smarter than you, who are more capable than you at something, work with them. If you're the smartest person in the room all the time, you're in the wrong room, right? You've built the wrong team of people in your company. So I have 2 co-founders, and at the moment, FOMO's doing okay. It's in growth mode. I can't yet afford with the business to take them full-time, right? So they are both continuing to work a job, and then part-time, they work on FOMO. That's a unique set of challenges because our schedules often don't underlap. And I'm in Denver, Colorado, one's in New York, which is 2 hours ahead of me, one's in London, which is 7 hours ahead of me. So I'm trying to be that central point that keeps everyone together and understands what everybody should be doing. Huge challenge. I'd say that's sort of the main one at the moment. But then I suppose secondarily, particularly when you've got something brand new, you can make great guesses about who your audience is, what they'll pay, and what they want. But until you get into it, you have no idea, right? Go back to that example of mowing the lawn, hanging pictures, painting the garage, right? If you've never done that, you can take a decent guess by looking around what someone might pay, but you might be wrong, right? You might put your price too high and nobody works with you because they're like, no. Or you might put it too low and they're like, well, this is suspiciously cheap, right? They're obviously not very good at what they do, right? So you've got to be willing to get it wrong, and you've got to be willing to put the time in to get it right. So I love doing things like this, and I love doing this webinar tomorrow. And one of the reasons I'm doing that webinar is I can watch people's faces and I can listen to the questions they ask me. And all of that is information for me that then helps me do it. So there's never enough hours in the day. You have to focus on the things that matter. And my biggest tip for that, and in fact, I'll show you, I'm sitting at my wife's desk. So she has this little stand on her desk. I won't turn the piece of paper around, but she has this little stand on her desk that she puts there on a Sunday night. And on this, it has the 5 things she must do every day, no matter how things get busy, in the categories of something towards her vision, something towards her health, her body, something about her mind. And in her case, it's read 10 pages of nonfiction, right? That's great. Break from business. Something that connects her to people related to her business, and something she's grateful for, right? That is an incredible tip. Do that, right? Because that will help in all those areas we've been talking about, and helps you overcome some of those challenges that I'm facing right now, and you'll face as you're building a business.
I'm definitely stealing that from your wife.
Yeah, great. She's really good at what she does. She has a business that does podcast production, as I mentioned, and it's a good example of thinking about a business in a different way. So there are not enough people in the world to listen to all of the podcasts that now exist. And so what she teaches her podcast clients is, don't worry about how many people listen. Use it to connect to people. We okay? I hear a bit of an echo. Is the quality okay on your end?
No, it's okay. It's cool.
Okay, great. So in that case, it's a bit like this, right? You and I have now met because of this podcast, right? You might have, I don't know, 10 people listen to this. You might have 10,000 people listen to this, right? It doesn't matter. You and I have met. We understand what each other does now. We're in touch, right? There's a lot of value in connecting through having a podcast. So that's what she teaches to her podcasters. And it's a clever idea of maybe the business people think you've built is not actually the real reason why you've built the business.
Interesting. I'm definitely going to leverage that. And maybe we should have your wife on the podcast.
You should. Fascinating.
Because that's something I think a lot of people could. I know that a lot of businesses right now, because on one side of the business, we work with startups, tech startups that are being funded. And a lot of them are hearing that you need to produce content and everything. But and especially podcasts that are getting really popular in the startup space. But many are not really figuring out how to go about that. That maybe, yeah, after this, we're definitely going to talk a little bit more so that I can see, we can have your wife, the missus. We had the other half. Now let's have the other half to speak about the creative side. So
That's great.
and now
Can
we
I
are
just
at the end of the pod.
I just want to give
No,
a
go
little
ahead,
bit of
Dax.
advice to that point you said of, these funded companies, they're under pressure to create so much content, etc. It's not true. It is, you should have content, you should have a community. I don't think it's true that you have to have masses of content, right? We've been trained to believe more is better, and often more is not better. So, for instance, with FOMO, I've barely been able to touch Instagram yet, but Instagram is where we will put content. I don't care about Facebook, right? In the US and the UK, where most of my customers are, most people who are active on Facebook are over 50, right? They're not the younger business owners and the marketers that I'm really going after. I don't care about Facebook. Therefore, I'm not even going to try and make content for it. Twitter, up until 6-7 months ago, that used to be pretty good for content. Now, mostly it's useless. But for that, FOMO built a little bot that every day writes you a tweet on your behalf and posts it. You don't have to think about it. So there's no harm in doing that because you never have to think about it. I think podcasts 3 years ago were a smart early mover advantage. Maybe a little less so now, unless you're using it smartly to connect to people. So Sarah has a client that all he does is big corporate CRM implementation. His customers are the CEOs of the Fortune 1000 companies. In his podcast, he's now interviewed 160 of them. I don't think he cares if the only person that listens to his show is his mum, and I don't think his mum listens to it anymore either. What he cares about is he has that one-to-one relationship with 160 of his potential clients. Use content smartly. Don't fall into the trap of thinking you have to be creating masses of content all the time. It's a waste of time.
Yep. I hear you. I'm looking at a lot of the comments. People are laughing. People are enjoying this conversation. Thank you guys for joining. For those that have joined live, I hope you're enjoying the show so far. And we are about to wrap up. I'm just going to allow Dax to quickly share a little bit more about how you can learn more about FOMO, where you can get in touch with him if you want to learn more about what he's doing, and if you don't want to send him an email, and where can they find you on social media if they want to attend any of your, if not tomorrow, any of the future events that you have?
For sure, happy to. So FOMO.ai, at the moment it's a very basic page, but it links, you'll see it links to Copilot, which is copilot.fomo.ai. And Copilot is the one, the sort of guided DIY. We will let the next members into that on November 15th. And so the price on the site right now is as cheap as it's ever going to get. It's never, ever going to be this cheap because we're replacing so much for a business. People will get access November 15th. At the moment on social, I use just Instagram typically, and look at dax.fyi. Dax.fyi on Instagram, that's where I post all my content. And you will see over the last sort of 3 or 4 months, I made a whole bunch of reels where I did a podcast and I interviewed lots of people. And all of those reels on there and on YouTube, but probably Instagram's better. Lots of great content for business owners on there. So you can follow dax.fyi. And then as my name is written on the screen, dax@fomo.ai, that's my email address. One of the reasons why I left big corporate world and I do what I do is I just love helping people. I love doing these conversations. I love meeting people. Drop me an email. I don't mind answering questions. It's fine. I won't add you to some terrible spam list. And then for the webinar tomorrow, that is free, 30 days of social media content in 30 minutes or less with AI. Drop me an email and I'll send you the link to register for the webinar. It's free. And if you can't make it live, it will then send it to you afterwards.
All right. Thank you so much, Dax, for being here. Thank you. I enjoyed the conversation. Sorry we beat you last week, but
You just had to mention the rugby again. Hard to mention rugby. I'm gonna leave you all. I'm gonna leave you all though with sort of one tip that circles back to what we said. You know, I'm in a okay looking room here. The sound hopefully is pretty good. The reality, right back to that idea of just start a business. I'm gonna show you something. My sound booth, my studio here is a desk by a window, which is terrible for sound. And I took two of the cushions from my wife's sofa behind me, and they have been wrapped around my screen and microphone to improve the sound quality. I show you that
what?
none of this is difficult or expensive. Just hack it. Just find an easy, cheap, free way to do it. We have a podcasting client who she lives in a one-bedroom flat with two little kids, and she does the podcast, and the only room she can record in is her bathroom. Terrible room to record in because of all the echo. She gets a duvet and she sits on it and she wraps it over her head in the bathtub. And it wraps the sound with the microphone.
Wow.
You would think she was in a professional studio. It's very funny. She once sent me a picture. She did a 40-minute episode. She came out and she was dripping with sweat because she'd wrapped herself in this duvet. My point is, don't overcomplicate it. Grab a few cushions and just get on with it.
Guys,
Yeah, that's the hack.
this is gold.
Like we've been
All right.
getting
Well,
so
it's
many
been a
hacks
pleasure.
from you.
Drop me an email. Happy to answer your questions.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
All right. So I'm gonna give it back over to Ti, and yeah, I think we've wrapped up. Ti, over to you.
Yeah.